Welcome, everybody. Congratulations. This is a very exciting moment for us as well as for you, I expect. I'm thrilled to be here. Just to make sure that we're in the right place, this is Unit 5, right? And you're from North Carolina? Oh, good.
Yes,
We're all in the right place. Excellent. So what we're going to do today is introduce ourselves, and then we'll start with question 1. My name is, we'll introduce ourselves as judges and then ask you to introduce yourselves and also your teacher, if you don't mind. My name is Candida Steele, and I'm retired as a judge on the U.S. Civilian Board of Contract Appeals. I handled federal government contracts disputes all around the country. And I'm basically still from the Maryland group, but as of yesterday, I sold my house in Maryland and I'm moving to Maine. So thank God for Zoom. So Richard or Kurt?
My name's Richard Leiter. I'm a professor and director of the Law Library at the University of Nebraska School of Law. So I'm coming to you live from Lincoln, Nebraska, the heart of the heartland. Been here for about 20 years and been judging Nebraska state competitions for almost that long. Good to be here.
And
Good morning, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Kurt Mavis. I'm an attorney with the United States Air Force, currently assigned to the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and an alumni of the program.
Yeah.
Good one. Okay, kids, could you tell us who you are?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kelly Blackman.
My name is Logan Serino.
And I'm Dylan Bradley, and we're all seniors at Raleigh Charter, and our teacher is Ms. Klein.
Great, hi. So I'll read the question for the record. You all know what we're talking about, but a result of the decision in Wisconsin versus Yoder is that, quote, any parent/guardian can refuse to let their child go to school beyond the 8th grade or learn about a subject by saying it's against their religious beliefs. Do you agree or disagree with this result of the decision? Why or why not? What words, if any, are found in the U.S. Constitution or in state constitutions that protect the right to an education? And how have courts balanced religious beliefs with other rights? You may begin.
We disagree with the decision in Yoder. The 1990 case Employment Division v. Smith set new precedent after Wisconsin v. Yoder as to how violations to the Free Exercise Clause are evaluated by the court. Current precedent set by Smith holds that a law must be designed to inhibit a specific religious group's free exercise of religion to be a violation of the clause. If the law does not target a specific group's religious practice and is instead a blanket law covering all citizens, with the intent being to protect the health, safety, and welfare of citizens, then the law is not a violation of the Free Exercise Clause under this precedent.
The Wisconsin law in the Yoder case mandated children to attend school until age 16 with the goal of educating the public and giving people the many opportunities that come with an education. This law was not designed to prevent Amish people from practicing their religion. This law does not specifically apply nor was targeted in any way at Amish people. It is a blanket law that applies to all children of all religions. In addition, mandating education is a legitimate state interest. For these reasons, we believe that if this case were to be retried today, the precedent set by Employment Division v. Smith would be used to clearly show that the Wisconsin v. Yoder should be overturned.
The federal Constitution is silent on the issue of a right to education. Although the 14th Amendment requires equal protection and therefore requires states to require equal educational opportunities, nothing in the federal Constitution requires education itself. Therefore, under the 10th Amendment, defining a right to an education would fall to the states. However, the states are also vague about the right to education. Although many states, including North Carolina, have added an explicit right to education in their state constitutions, still over half of all states, including Wisconsin, have not. Instead, Wisconsin, quote, provides by law for the establishment of district schools as nearly uniform as practicable. Nothing in their constitution talks about the right for someone to get education. It only requires equal schools to be provided. It's clear that neither the Wisconsin Constitution nor the federal Constitution apply to this case, yet they are only one piece of the puzzle.
Balancing religion with other constitutional rights has been handled by the courts differently over the years, primarily on a case-by-case basis. In contrast to the decision in Wisconsin v. Yoder, the Supreme Court ruled 10 years later in United States versus Lee that Amish people still had to pay Social Security taxes when it was argued that it was against their religious beliefs. This decision is similar to the ruling in Smith, because by entering into employment, certain limits were placed on the exercise of his beliefs.
More recently, the court has weighed in on the issue of how to balance religious beliefs with civil rights. In Masterpiece Cake Shop v. Colorado Civil Rights Commission, the court was tasked with balancing one's religious beliefs with civil rights law when a couple believed they were being discriminated against on the basis of sexual orientation, according to the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act. The owner of the cake shop refused to make a wedding cake for a same-sex wedding because of his religious beliefs. The court then decided that forcing the cake shop owner to make a cake in this circumstance violated the free exercise clause.
Now we are looking at the effect of COVID-19 on the free exercise clause. North Carolina, along with many other states, has restricted the size of indoor gatherings, which impacts religious groups. Multiple religious groups have sued North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper over the state restrictions, raising the question of if they are narrowly tailored and if they have a compelling state interest to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Balancing religion with other rights has been a recurring theme in case history and will continue to be an important issue as more conflicts arise. Thank you.
Wow, that was well timed. Congratulations. Yeah. Great, thank you so much. So you're talking to go to the other end of the educational scale. Is the government helping parochial schools, for example? What do you think about the government? Can or should the government assist parochial schools? Can they give vouchers so students can go to parochial schools? Can they give money to parochial schools? What do you think the role is with government in religion then?
I think that the government does not should not be involved in giving vouchers for students to go to parochial schools. That is, it infringes too close on the government being involved and with religion. They should be very separated, as stated in the Constitution. And giving students vouchers to go to religious schools would really infringe on that separation that's clearly defined.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, considering the history of public schools in America, having that as an option for all students in the states already means that there's not a requirement to provide for a religious education. A family can decide for themselves if that's what they want to do, and a school is allowed to charge them money for that service. But as long as they're being provided an adequate public education outside of that, then no, the government does not have to provide education through religious school.
Great.
I agree with Dylan and Logan here. I think that it starts to blend the line of the Establishment Clause, and I think that the government is starting to get too involved in religion at that point.
Okay.
Well, if we take this sort of in a slightly different direction, it should states require or be allowed to require, for example, students to be vaccinated if it conflicts with their sincerely held religious beliefs.
So in the case of vaccination, that is a case of something that is this, the safety and welfare of citizens, specifically students in this case. And that is a legitimate government interest to protect the safety of citizens, especially in places like schools, which have a high density of people concentrated in one place and prove to be real hot zones when it comes to spreading things like COVID-19. And I think most likely the realistic option is that students that believe that they should not be vaccinated or do not want to be vaccinated can, still attend online learning, but I think it is definitely a legitimate interest to require in-person students to be vaccinated due to the safety and welfare of citizens being a legitimate thing to protect, and it also not being directly, it being a vaccine requirement, not being directly tailored to prevent anyone from practicing religion. The only goal of that is to keep people safe.
There are already vaccination requirements in schools, aren't there? Are
Yes.
you all back in school yet? Are you physically in school?
We are not.
No. Okay,
We are
sorry.
part-time, but
Yeah.
not full-time.
So one of the things that I thought was really interesting in the Yoder case was Justice Douglas's dissent. Do you have any feelings or opinions about whether children should have a say in whether or not they have to go on to school till they're 16 or not?
I think that is actually the main party that a right to education would apply to is the children, uh, because of the sole reason that it's not the parents who are getting the education, it's not the parents' future that this education is helping, it's the children's future. So I think that yes, it actually is one of the main people this right should protect is the children, um, and they uh, they're the because if they do not get an education, then it's their future that might be in jeopardy as a result of that.
I also think that links into our point about positive rights, and having a right to an education in different state constitutions would actually help further protect the students and other minors in this case.
I don't disagree with you, but Logan and Kelly, with that response, let me challenge you a little bit. At what age do you get to start making a decision for yourself? Because my parents put me in Sunday school when I was 5, when I was 13, when I was 15. You can't vote until you're 18, so why do you get a say in your education decision before 18?
I think your education is something that affects your life beyond the point of your childhood. And I think that that's something that you should have somewhat of a say in. And I think that, yes, your parents and your relationship is something that you would definitely have to talk about, but I don't think that it means that that right would be completely taken away from you and given to your parents instead, when it's your future that it's affecting.
And I think that the comparison between Sunday school and regular school is a bit of an unfair comparison, um, because Sunday school is it doesn't really fuel into your future like a math or a science or some other regular school course that would you know give you experience that you would need to go into the workforce later in your life.
Unless you're Amish.
Well, unless you're Amish, or I was going to say, as from a parent's point of view, there's a lot of things that we can observe that our children don't know. And there's a lot of things that we know will benefit you in other ways other than just knowing math. If a parent decides that religious training,
Is there a question?
so if the, you interrupted my train of thought. Sorry. If so, how do you justify whether when the children can make the decision and defer to the parents' role? Is it a clear age cutoff, or is it a subject?
I think, as with all of the age cutoff requirements that we have legally, it's always going to be arbitrary. We're always going to have to pick an age at the end of the day so that we have a standard. Personally, I think that we could easily raise the dropout age to 18, and that would just make everything make more sense, because then it's when you're able to vote. It's when we already count you as an adult. I think it just makes more logical sense. But I don't think the 16 age is an extremely big deal either, because 9 times out of 10, it's only, a year or two more. Most kids are going to choose to stay through their education.
Wow.
Very good.
Great job. Really great job. Thank you. That was really lovely. Kurt, do you want to start?
Yeah, happy to. Thank you. Thanks for starting us off this morning. What a challenge it is to do this online, but I really thought this was a really good conversation. It didn't feel stilted. Logan, Kelly, I called you out by name just because your name's right there. Dylan, I didn't mean to leave you out, and I'm glad you jumped in. You knew what I was saying. I thought you guys did a really good job of distinguishing the current case law, the current precedent, bringing Smith in, because that's one of my questions. Absolutely. Would Yoder still be good law? You guys knocked it out of the park before I could even ask that question. So pop my balloon. Well done there. It is a challenge. You all started to hit the nail on the head with, okay, great. It does matter to the person, but at what age do you get to start making decisions for yourself? I remember getting grounded when I was 16 because my mom said, one more peep out of you. And I turned and looked at her and I said, peep. Now, is that a decision-making process that we want people to decide the rest of their life on? I'm not sure. So it's a big struggle, but I'm glad you all are thinking through it. Great conversation. Thank you very much.
Richard?
I was really impressed with your understanding of the case law that we're talking about. I thought that you handled it all very well. You when as judges, we were talking about it before we talked with you, of course. You explored some nuances that we didn't even anticipate, and did it in a very good way. It was eloquent, well-reasoned. Good job.
I agree. I think it was a lovely presentation. You were clear and straightforward, and frankly, I like this system. It gives everybody a good chance to focus, I think. I miss seeing you all in person, and we should be in DC, but this is not, it could be worse for a substitute. You did a really lovely job. One thing you might be interested to know is one of the judges that you might see tomorrow is Dan Glickman, who, isn't that his last name? The judge who ruled on the Masterpiece Cake case.
Oh,
Who wrote the decision. So he's one of our civic ed judges here. So it was nice to hear that case referred to. Thank you. I think you did a really lovely job, and I hope that this has been a fun experience for all of you. It certainly is for us to see faces, and I think you did a really lovely job. I don't know what you're all interested in doing in the future, but I hope that this might inspire you to not only go on. My cousin was in the program 20 years ago, and he went on to Oxford in political science because of this program. I'm not saying you all have to do that. Kurt now is a lieutenant colonel because of this program, perhaps. But we need you all, with the experience you now have and the knowledge you have, to use that as good citizens down the road, to share your experience with your family members and the people you know. And if you have any interest at all to represent us in state or local governments or in Washington, and we would all be very proud, and I for one would be very happy to sit in my rocking chair in my nursing home knowing that you all are taking care of it, and that's why we do this, I think. So thank you so much. You did a really lovely job. Kurt?
I have one more thought. Ms. Klein, you heard it first. These three are going to Oxford, so what you do with these three. But I did want to just make a note. At the end of your opening statement, you talked about some of the current events that are going on, religious gatherings and all that. The only thing I wanted to add to that was I was hoping for a little bit more resolution, and that's what I was going to ask you in our Q&A. We just ran out of time. No big deal, but if you can throw resolution into it, so I'm not wondering, well, what is going on? That's just my one quick thought about the competition piece, not about what your opening statement was, which was really good. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Great start to the day. You have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you all.